everybody. This is Michael Drummond and Larry Lacey. We're Fat Guys Media. We're here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Welcome this week to our Thanksgiving Day podcast. We're recording this a little early, but we're going to publish right around Thanksgiving. So when you're done with the family and the kids have driven you crazy and you just have to get out of the house to go Uber, then you know you can listen to this podcast. And we're going to probably give you some pearls today that you'll wish you had known for the night before, but it will be a good podcast. Today we're going to talk about some serious things. We're going to talk about some funny things, and then we're probably going to fly by the seat of our pants a little bit. But for now, I want to hand it over to Larry. How are you doing this week?
I am doing fantastic, Michael. It's been a good week. Successful ride sharing. My week's been good.
Mine wasn't too bad. I have put more hours in because I've been sleeping with the Uber on, because Christmas time is coming, Black Friday's coming. When people listen to this, tomorrow or the next day will be Black Friday. So I'm trying to save some money, get some money in the pockets to do some possible shopping. So I've been sleeping with Uber on and taking pretty much everything that comes. I had a nice airport run yesterday. Got called at like 6 in the morning. Had to drive to 111th and Sheridan from where I live, but I mean, it is what it is. It was good money turnaround. So
yeah, so I mean, you had to go about 10 miles out of your way, but you got about a 16-mile. From
111th, I'd probably say
close to a 20-mile trip.
Round trip, round trip was probably about like 23, 24. But down there and coming from 111th, we're probably talking 12 miles to the airport. So it wasn't too bad. So. I just wish it had been a surge. Even at a 1.5, it would have been awesome. But the guy waited for that to turn off, I think.
Yep, because it surged most of the night here in our market anyways because of bad weather.
Yep.
Which, as we get into winter, that's definitely something to keep in mind, is not only to have all the winter preparations in your car and ready, but you're going to be busier. Once the weather gets bad, people, maybe they don't like driving on ice. Maybe they don't have a vehicle that is suited for it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good time to, make sure you're winter ready before we really get into the season.
And I think a good thing for a lot of Uber drivers is to remember is just because they don't have a car that's winter ready, if your car does not drive good on snow and ice, don't put your car out there.
You don't want to take their life into your hands.
No. I mean, honestly, if you don't have an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, and then those, my wife would want to hear me say this, but if there's lots of ice out, when you go out there, you're taking your life, you're taking their life, dealing with other people's families. I think it's a good thing just to, play, if it's not safe to go out, don't go out. Yep. No matter what the surge is.
Right.
Even if it says 9.9, I know
I'm going to risk your life. I'm sorry. I got to get out there then. 9.9, I would probably be having an aneurysm. And the whole way while driving 7 miles an hour. Please don't cancel. Please don't cancel. Please don't cancel. Please don't cancel.
Exactly.
Yes.
It would, because next thing you know, you're like half a mile from the surge, drops to like 8.3, and then they cancel.
Right.
And re-request you at 8.3.
Which, let's not lie. I'm okay with that too, but I'd rather have the 9.9.
Yeah, what if it dropped to like 4.3 though?
Yeah, I don't know. I might just strand them. That's an awful jerk move. You brought me 8 miles out of the way on icy roads to then cut my pay in half.
That's right.
I'm just turning around and going to the next guy.
That's when you drive up and you let him walk all the way out to the car and you roll the window down and you're like, you and you drive off.
You leave, you're like, wait for the guy in the Prius.
He'll be here in 4 days.
Right. He'll see you Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday, Brandy.
Oh, man. With all of that aside, definitely, have heavy hearts still from the whole situation that happened in Paris.
Yeah. It's there's lots. Everybody has their own ideas and thoughts on what happened there, and it's a horrible tragedy for the human race in general.
It's awful.
And I don't care what your personal politics are, and I'm not going to share mine because mine could be totally different.
Absolutely.
And I kind of voiced my personal opinion the other night in front of our friend Ken, and I know his opinion is a completely different thing, but I mean, if I can't say it in front of my friends, then and we can't disagree. We can disagree amongst ourselves and stuff, but I'm not gonna sit there and like harp on it.
Right.
But I mean, right now in Paris, there was lots of talk about Uber, and generally we don't run to Uber's aid with our podcast.
I don't think that really I'm ever defending Uber, but I think we definitely, and being transparent and being fair, Uber got completely fucked.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those things that somebody said it was true.
Yeah.
And it's like starting a social media fire, and bad things were happening in Paris, and next thing you know, basically the cabbies, and this isn't a knock on the cabbies, they basically just said, Uber's out here fleecing people.
Yeah.
One guy, I'm sure he's taxi, his name was Uber Filth
Uber
on
Filth.
Twitter. That's a real good name, Uber Filth. Was claiming that Uber was at 50x. I'm going to leave all jokes aside on 50x surge because it's not the time for it, but that wasn't true.
No.
And 50 times? Good God.
No.
Like, do you know how many minutes that would take to get up there with the way the algorithm works?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. They said it went up to 400%, which is a 4-time surge, which is sadly not crazy.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen either. Uber did caution that, that the service was running slow because there was a tragedy going on.
No.
It's not like you could just pull up to, the Eiffel Tower and say, hop in.
No, the city was in gridlock. I'm sure, I don't know if you've ever been there, and I've never been, but I have friends who told me that, and if you look on the news, because I said, what about all these things? And he said every street in France, if they want to lock it down, you know how outside some businesses, they hit the button and the poles come up? They're throughout the entire city. So they can close off every road. So when they say they put it into curfew, those things come up because there's no driving. You're to go inside.
Before the curfew, there was driving.
Yeah.
And from the best of, what I can tell is what Uber said was, I was looking to see if I could actually find their quote. I'll look for it here in a minute. But, I guess a lot of taxi drivers were just basically meter off and just basically driving people out of there.
No.
FYI, I bet that it wasn't exactly free, and I bet they were getting the greatest tips of their lives.
Yeah.
Completely side story. I'm just saying, because I know if you just saved my life, I'm throwing you whatever's in my wallet.
Yeah.
Because I am more than grateful, and that those people are putting their life on the line, And the European taxi drivers are great.
No, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different way of life in Europe as a taxi driver than it is here in the United States. If you're a taxi driver in Europe, you make good money. It's a respected thing. It's not, you go to London, you get in the black car, and it's like a huge, big, fancy, real comfortable car that you ride in.
Right.
That's what those people, that's their job. It's not a car that's, trashed out. It doesn't stink. It's nothing. Those cars are nice. It's a serious, job over there. And I understand them being upset with Uber when it comes in because it is cheaper than what they are. And
yeah.
People are taking it. The younger people are taking it. And all it's going to do is it kind of breaks a line there, between what's the future. Because as they get older, now I think those guys, they have a legitimate thing. That's how they pay for their families,
Right.
And Uber probably is the younger generation thing. It's young people with cars that are driving and.
And people now, they don't care about quality. You don't take Uber because you want quality.
Yeah.
You take Uber because you're looking to get something off the dollar menu.
Yeah.
That's what Uber is.
Well, McDonald's just killed their dollar menu.
Yeah, it's like the $1.29.
No. They're killing the entire dollar menu.
Really?
If you want something now, you have to buy 2 of them. You only get the dollar price so a cheeseburger will be like $1.90. But if you buy a cheeseburger and a small fry, then you get them for $2.
Well, let's be fair. That's fine. We're fat. You don't just go get a cheeseburger, and neither do I. We have to get the add-on. So
I get the McDouble.
Maybe they'll sponsor our podcast.
That's a good idea. But
fat guys.
That's seriously how they're doing it though. They're and I applaud that. They're getting rid of the cheaper option. People are getting to the point where they want something for nothing.
Right.
And they'll complain about getting it for almost nothing too. They want a Rolls Royce experience, but they want to pay $1 a mile.
Right.
And I don't mean to get off of France that way, but I mean it all works back that it's a younger economy. It's millennials who want to be so cheap. People who want to live in like
Fucking hipsters.
People who want to live in a 400 square foot house
Right.
to me is ridiculous. I don't care. I mean, that whole mindset and I mean, but that's what in Europe, these taxis are more expensive, but they're paying for someone who has a mortgage, who has children, who has
And they're offering great service. They're offering better cars. They're offering good city knowledge. Like I think
Yeah.
they have to pass crazy city tests.
Yeah.
You know, whereas just grab the first Frenchman you find and slap him in a car and say, all right, you're an Uber driver. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so they're still fighting their own battles there. But I think the main thing we were saying is once Uber realized what was happening, there was no surge pricing.
They killed it.
Killed it, which is funny because in the U.S., they do allow for I believe it's up to 2 times surge pricing in the United States. They don't kill it here.
Is it set at 2.0 or 2.1?
Probably 2.1.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I should have paid closer attention during, like, I think it was Hurricane Sandy, because Uber just, it was just going crazy. That, and then the thing that happened in Sydney with the terror attacks there. And, after that, they realized it was time to...
And this will be the only kind of thing that I say that's even remotely political, but if you don't think it's going to happen here, you are wrong.
Right.
It's a matter of time before we have that same situation here.
Right.
And the question will be, is as an Uber driver, are you going to be out there helping or are you going to run for the hills?
You want me to answer that honestly?
Well,
let me throw
here's
this
the deal.
caveat
You
out.
and I, we're big targets. If you're super skinny and you can avoid a bullet,
If you're in a Prius, you might as well try to squeeze in there.
yeah.
And your life's not as valuable in a Prius. I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
Yeah, that was really off color, but those people, those Uber drivers, and I mean, they didn't know what they were getting into.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it was all over Paris. It was like 4 different spots in Paris. So they didn't know they could go around the corner. There'd be a guy with an AK-47
Right.
mowing people down. And that's the situation they were in. But they were out there trying to get people out of harm's way and to safety. And I applaud those people. I really do.
Absolutely. Those are heroes. Those
Yeah.
are everyday citizen heroes.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that I'm doing the same thing. I don't know, because I've never been in that situation.
Yeah.
My question, and I phrase this as delicately and gentle as possible. I don't want the consumer to pay for it, but as much money as Uber has and as much as they can do in a situation like that, should they offer higher rates for those drivers that do stick around in one of those situations? Or does that then look like Uber's trying to entice drivers into a dangerous situation and then they're going to get killed publicly then anyways?
But you know what? I don't think in that situation Uber is a good alternative to get out of a thing, because here's why. You're asking people who've just been in a traumatic situation to stay close to that situation, because Uber works by, I'm going to ping you and then I'm going to hang out here until you come and get me. But if stuff's going down and it's expanding, they're not going to hang out there. They're going to run away. So therefore, the driver's now racing in someplace to pick somebody up.
And they're not there.
And they're not there.
Which most likely what they're doing is, I almost answered my own question. But like I said, it's such a tough thing because, I don't think anybody's ever really explored trying to provide rides in a moment of terror.
Yeah. Here's what I know. Here's what I know. And you see it on TV, like on different movies where, let's say not The Walking Dead.
CSI.
Okay,
Whatever.
so let's just say there's a huge thing. Something's coming. People are trying to get out of town. Okay, and they know.
Normally one of your alien movies.
Yeah,
with Brad Pitt.
so people are jumping on every car that they can to get out of town.
Right.
My Suburban, people are going to be trying to pack themselves in there. And then what are they going to do? We need one more person. Next thing you know, they're trying to push me out.
Right.
And then it becomes a whole
It
other
could be
thing.
dangerous for you.
But that's a situation. I mean, that if it's a moment of terror and panic,
Right.
you have to be real careful there, because situations can turn. People are not for their fellow man all the time. It's about who's gonna take care of me.
Right.
How do I take care of me and my family here? You know what I mean? So in a moment's notice, in a really heated situation, that could become dangerous.
Yeah, you're right, it could. And that's why, like I said, it's such a delicate topic that you really don't even know how to discuss, because, I mean, I think the best situation is everybody just get to safety. But, I think what it really says is those taxi drivers and those Uber drivers in Paris that were getting people out of harm's way.
Yeah.
That's fucking big.
And
time.
I think too, a lot of it could come down to if I saw somebody as an Uber driver, I'm an Uber driver, but I'm driving down the street and I see some guy who's running away from the situation who can barely walk because he got shot in the leg.
Right.
I'm grabbing that guy.
Yeah,
and I'm getting to the hospital.
Who cares about?
I'm just getting in there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think that's a lot of it too. If you're good enough to run and walk and you can get away, then fine.
Right.
I'm probably gonna let you be, but I'm gonna take the people who need help, who need to get someplace quick. I'm gonna take those people first, and I'm gonna get them out of there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I mean,
maybe this is tech talk, but maybe what this leads to is Apple's very innovative, but there's an emergency button, right? So every city has their own set of emergency drivers. Maybe it's off-duty firefighters, retired, whatever.
Yeah.
And, you hit this thing and you can request, to be, in a moment of, hurricanes, flooding, whatever, you can try to request emergency trained personnel to rescue you.
Yeah. And that's also where, like, over there, I don't know how it works, but here we do have the, what are they called? The reserves.
The National Guard.
The National Guards.
Right.
So those people, in a situation of something really bad, let's say a small insurgent force came in, you would see not only our military, but you'd see our reserves coming in.
Right.
And that's, those people would come in and they would be getting people out of harm's way.
Yep.
I mean, but in the early stages, man, I mean, it's kind of grab who you can and get them out as fast as you can.
Right. Yeah.
And you can't, and sometimes you can't go back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's safer and easier to be out of the way so law enforcement can do what they need to do.
That's
but
right.
I mean, I applaud those drivers that did get people out of harm's way and, just keep Paris in your thoughts.